2 people rock up. Let's see who shows up.
That sounds ambitious.
Maybe this will be first stream back, a 0 viewer stream. Nothing to be ashamed of with a 0 viewer stream. Oh wait, didn't we used to joke about having millions of imaginary users?
It was, for every viewer, that just counted as 1 million viewers.
Yeah. Let me just check. For anyone who's watching, which is no one,
I can hear us coming back through the stream, so audio's working.
Sweet, that's good. That's right. I forgot to do that. Check the audio.
It's okay, I got you covered.
Nice. Yeah, we've not done this in a while. Plenty of crazy stuff. Plenty of ghetto mic setup. It'll probably sound as crap as, but I don't know. As long as people can hear us,
that's all that matters.
Yeah, and I'll put the VOD on YouTube, which is great because all we've talked about for the first 3 minutes is getting back to it. I mean, 0 viewers. It's not like anyone's watching right now, but maybe there'll be billions of people on YouTube.
I could post it somewhere. We might get some viewers.
Oh, the InfoSec, that Discord group.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're feeling brave enough, I'm not going to say no.
I don't know if I'm feeling brave enough. That's the problem.
Yeah, I think we've got a flow to get back into. There's no promises that this is in any way going to be good or smooth for anyone who is tuned in right now, if anyone is. Or even if you're watching this back on YouTube, because I'm just going to upload the whole thing on YouTube. It's 7:59. Hey everyone, it's been a while. I think it's been 2 years since we did stuff on Twitch because we switched to YouTube, and I regretted making. I'll take responsibility for that decision, and it wasn't a good decision. So, we're back. Fine. We're back on Twitch. You know, I don't know. YouTube streaming just feels a bit ghetto. So. Anyway, we're back on Twitch. It's been a year since we've 9 months, 11 months, 31st of March, I think was the last thing we did last year.
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm willing to say that, stuff happened in the last year. It just we thought, let's start just producing videos instead. Maybe that's another one I got to put my hand up for and say, yeah, I thought that'd be a good idea. That didn't happen, clearly. So, but it's been, just starting to think it'd be cool to start doing stuff again. Because, learning and having fun and, a lot of actual work in InfoSec. You can go months without really doing anything too technical because you're doing something that's less technical, especially with what we do, which is all sorts. So, consulting, you might be doing something very technical one week and then you're helping someone write policies and procedures the next. So it's kind of good to be back. I'm excited. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah, me too. We'll see how it goes. I've already feel like I've completely lost all CTF skills. So it should be fun to get back into again.
We are rusty, so bear with us as we get back in our flow.
We thought this week we'll start from scratch. We'll set up our VMs again and go from there.
So this week's subject, I'll flip over to this. Hopefully that flips on. That should.
Sure
Streamlabs
did.
Works. Sweet. So let me just actually get the stream chat up so I can see that as well. Cool.
Okay, I've got it up too.
Oh, sweet. So this week we thought, we've always used Kali with CTFs. I mean, even on pen testing engagements and stuff. Kali's fairly ubiquitous, comes with everything you need. But wouldn't it be fun to just set up an environment to work in on just using Debian? So install which Kali's based on anyway. So we install all the tools and bits and pieces we need, and as well, we can kind of have an environment that we like with a few other bits and pieces that might suit us. Hand in the air, that suits me. You might decide to swap out particular bits and pieces. You might not like particular, beg your pardon, choices that I make or that we make. But we thought we'd just run through that as a nice, easy way to get back into what we're doing, so that we. Yes, I should probably mute things to stop them making sounds every time there's a notification.
Yeah, so we'll install and configure a bunch of tools and give a quick rundown of why we're installing them and what they're used for, and then hopefully in the weeks to come we'll start actually doing some CTFs.
Oh, sweet. New follower.
Hey, Connie. Thanks for the follow.
Okay, so first things first, the assumption I'm making, and I guess maybe this is where we should have found a way to communicate if you wanted to follow along, what you need to do. So, well, before we start,
thanks for the host.
Cheers. So what you need is just you've grabbed VMware Player, you've grabbed Debian ISO, you've installed and then spammed next until you've got just a Debian. We figured it takes too much. We don't like to run these things too long, and that just takes up a bunch of time doing something that most people know how to do. So what we're going to do is start from we've just installed Debian. Let's kind of get it set up the way we want to get it set up. So I'm just going to log in with my brilliantly named account. It's pretty obvious what the password is from the fact that it's
super secure password.
It's the same length as the username. It's funny, you can only do that during the setup for Debian. You can't do that anywhere else, at least for root.
The password.
Yeah. So, as you may notice, it's annoyingly small and it doesn't resize. It just sits there like that. That's because it needs, well, for VMware, we need to install VMware tools. For VirtualBox, it's, I think, what the VirtualBox add-ons. You could be doing this on just a laptop or something, so you can skip this step entirely. You might have to install graphics card drivers. I will say, if you're going to do this like on bare metal, probably grab the Debian, what's it called? The unofficial version that comes with all of the stuff that's not GPL. So, I forget the name of it. Which is funny, because I literally remembered it 5 minutes ago. One of the other quirks, when you've got Debian off from the bat, is if I do sudo who am I, type in my password, I'm not in the sudoers file. Also, you can't log in as root, because that's blocked. I think that was your case, wasn't it, Jake, with the issue you were having?
Yeah. So I am so used to running Kali as root that I came over and installed this and I couldn't log in.
Which is not too bad not running as root, because some apps, like VS Code, doesn't like running as root. It kind of freaks out. So, right. So if we go su dash, what that does is this will drop us. I just typed in the wrong password. Su dash just switches you to root, but keeps all of the environment variables. It's like print env, isn't it? Yeah. So all of these come over so that everything still works. So we need to add our user to the sudo group so that we can actually do stuff as a user. We don't always have to be in root. So if we go sudo...
That's okay, you're not dumb. This is all complicated stuff.
Yeah.
And we're starting from the start, so...
So I should say, bit of Linux background. I guess you could say in quotes, administrative user is called root, which is also the user that the operating system runs as. It's a bit like, if you know a bit about Windows, the system user. You can give individual users administrative rights as well, but Debian doesn't give the account you create those rights. So that's all we're doing at the moment. So
yeah, we're just basically making it so that our user that we log in as is an admin, or can be an admin.
Sweet, so I've added that user to the group sudo.
Hey, thanks for the follow. Sinister Deeds.
Right, let's close the terminal, and then, I probably could just log out. Man, I'm so out of practice, I've forgotten what the commands are to log out. So logging out and logging back in forces it to... Like I was finding when I was doing this earlier that the only way you could get sudo to apply was logging out and logging back in. So there'll be a bit of logging out and logging back in if you're going to follow along later. Let's go back to a terminal.
Dido. Okay, I'll call him Dido.
Who am I?
Well,
and this should work. No, it doesn't. Why doesn't it work? Oh, gosh. This is always fun when stuff doesn't work. SU dash. Actually, do I need to reboot? I think I might even need to reboot to get it to reload the... I'm sure there's another way to get it to load the file, but let's just restart. Now we can wait while this restarts. This is...
Yay, dead air. Just what every stream needs.
Yay, except we're not playing a game, so you can't just watch that.
You can't just watch the amazing content unfold in front of you.
Yeah. And we're so out of practice at being engaging, so if you fall asleep, that could be a good review. You could be like,
let us know that you fell asleep, and we'll try and do better next time.
Solved my insomnia. Okay. Right. So we're still dealing with the frustratingly tiny terminal window. So, but now I should be a sudo who am I user. Yes. So that worked because when you run stuff as sudo, you run as root. You can change how sudo works, but that's a whole other thing. All good. So now that our user can actually do stuff in the operating system, let's install the VMware tools. So easy way to do that is manage. So this is the VMware menu up here, and then down here is where the VM is. I'm not full screen yet. We're going to go manage and install VMware tools. That takes a while to do its thing. And then we want to open that, and just the most ghetto thing we can do copy this and go to downloads. Figured I'll use the mouse to make it obvious what I'm doing. And then let's just go. Also, sometimes it's just easier to. What's that done to?
Tar is one of those things that's a bit like regex, that you always have to look up every time you use it, even though it's almost the exact same every time.
I remember my tar xvf for extract. Okay, so we got that. Now what we need to do is back to a terminal. The terminal is just the shell is just another way you can interact with the operating system. It's like DOS or CMD on Windows, except far more commonly used and probably far more used. I'd say it's comparable to PowerShell. Okay, so to install VMware tools, so I just extracted the folder that was on that disk. So what I did was it's just an ISO file, but it mounts the ISO file as removable media. Then I copied that to my downloads, to the VMware tools, whatever folder. Yes, that's what I did. Far out, I'm so out of practice. Okay, I'm just gonna find in here somewhere there is an install script in bin, isn't it? Yes. Why didn't that change directories, Jake?
Because it doesn't like you.
That's true. Oh no, I am in bin. Okay, no, we want to be here. Sorry, my mistake. So that VMware tools distrib folder inside that overly complicated name here. Okay, so we want a sudo perl. So this install script is a Perl script, which is awfully old school. I don't think I ever. I learned when I was younger. I learned PHP. Perl was an option, but I just went with PHP. Don't ask me why. It was a bad idea, but
yeah, it was probably as good an idea as learning Perl, I guess, at the time.
It does complain that you should use the Open VM tools packages that come with the operating system. I've never gotten those to work. There's probably something blindingly stupid I'm doing. So it'll ask you, do you want to proceed with the installation? Just say yes. And then basically the rest is defaults. You can change stuff if you really want to, but I've never seen any use in trying to play around with any of these settings other than just going with the defaults. Because all it then means is we get the nice window resizing, copy, paste, and drag and drop from our host in. So whatever you're running this on. Yes. Yes. Sure. No. And okay. So we'll restart again. And hopefully it comes back and it's full screen. Okay. And more dead air while it does a little boot up. And to make it go full screen, I'll just minimize it, maximize it. There we go. Look at that, Jake.
Yay, it's so pretty.
Yeah. The main reason I do this, because you can just go in the settings, change the screen resolution in Debian. Oh, actually, you know what I didn't do? I didn't change any of the resources that the VM has allocated. So when I set it up, it's just the defaults, which should be fine for setting everything up. You can go and fix that later. So, okay, we are now back to this point. So, there's our terminal. So one of the things, if you install the net install version of Debian, so we've gone with the 64-bit net install version, you can grab the DVDs or whatever, and I think they might give you more stuff, but there's no ZSH, there's no Nmap, there's no NCAT, none of that comes with the operating system. There is wget.
There's nothing out of the box,
which is useful because I like it more than curl. And some quick terminal basics. Up and down arrows go through your history. So it does get a bit weird when you go up the history a bunch, reverse it, type something in, and start going up again, because it goes back to it holds this pointer to know where you were in the history. The other thing you can do is you can just type history, and it'll give you a list of everything you've done, including me go, why doesn't this work? You can go history and then another command. Maybe this is for a whole other thing, but just go grep. Let's search for change directory, and we get every command where we did a CD, including the history we just did. But and then exclamation mark and the line number will rerun that particular command. So that can be useful when you're repeating the same thing over and over again, or need to reference how you did a command before. If you remember, if you're a watcher of our old streams, you would have seen me do plenty of that, and Jake as well. It's just an easy way of navigating. So that's just to say, as we're going through this, if you see anything like that, that's all we're doing.
We'll also install some cool ZSH add-ons and things that...
Yeah. And then the other handy thing is...
remember what we've done in the past.
As well, copy and paste into the terminal. So this is just like the equivalent of Notepad. To paste into the terminal, Control-Shift-V will paste stuff into the terminal, including Vim. I forget how you copy, but for this...
like how, without even coordinating this, you've called your VM hacky.
Yeah.
And I called mine hacky wacky.
Nice. So the next thing we're going to do is, because I like dark themes, so the terminal going preferences, profiles. There'll be this one called unnamed. We're just going to change that one. I don't have too many profiles. Going to untick that, and it should flip to whatever theme it decides to flip into. And that's usable. That's usable for me. You can play around with that and change the colors to whatever you want. I just don't like white backgrounds. Next thing we're going to do is Debian's package manager. It's called apt. If you use Kali, you'll be familiar with it. There's two kind of confusing commands for apt. There's apt update and apt upgrade. You go, what do? Update doesn't update everything that needs an update. Update will just update its own information about what packages are available. But if you don't do it and then you try and install stuff, it'll often freak out going, I can't find something because it's cached stuff so old on a fresh install. And upgrade will, if I go sudo apt upgrade, I'm not going to run this, but I'll just
You probably can because there's going to be nothing to upgrade because you haven't installed anything. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Everything is up to date. So that's fine.
Because it's so bare bones, the
yeah, all of the
distribution
stuff that is
we're
on
using.
on there is like a version update. Yeah, you're right. Or a security fix. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. The next thing we're gonna do is sudo
Another little aside.
install ZSH. So the default shell is bash. Bash is fine. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I like using ZSH. There's a few bonuses you get. So if I go change shell, then we go, I think it's user bin ZSH. And then I think I don't have to do anything other than restart the terminal. And then, oh man, how do you figure out what shell you're in, Jake? Far out. I've forgotten how to do this. I'm so out of practice.
Yes.
Anyway, that should be fine. I might have to reboot actually. No, log out and log back in.
It's just...
You don't actually have to keep logging out and logging back in like I do. It's just I'm so out of practice. I've forgotten how to do all the things. Like, oh jeez, it's been a while.
It's echo $0 apparently.
Yeah, or exec shell as well. Anyway, activities, terminal. Come on. Okay, so.
Although mine isn't saying.
Here we go. I've got the Z shell, so it's all good.
Yeah, you do have to log out. You can't just run it straight up.
Let's just go to. It asks you if you want to do certain things, but this doesn't really matter because about what we're about to do. We are about to install something called. This is purely a bunch of convenience functions to give some extra niceness to ZSH. Oh wow, that is running slow. I probably should have given this more beef. Oh my ZSH.
Beefcake.
Okay. And it's funny, right? Because this is where we are security people, and here we are talking about doing fun stuff with setting up an OS. Okay, so that's right. This isn't the drag bar. This is. So one thing I will say is, so with Omar ZSH, the easy setup option is just to grab the one-liner that they have in their GitHub. Do note that in general, if it's anything you care about, this can be a bit of a bad habit to get into. If you're a sysadmin, you probably shouldn't be grabbing some file from some random shell script from the internet and piping it to SH. But in our case, that's right. In our case, it's fine. However, what I don't have is Git. Yeah. So what you can do is, if you don't trust it, you can read it to see what it does, or you can take it for granted. You can go, well, thousands of people use this.
YOLO it.
There isn't any issues that people have reported about security. Or you may just go for some things, like I'm setting up a VM to do CTFs. It's fine. If I was setting up a VM if you were going to be doing pen testing in a corporate context, maybe you want to be a bit more careful, just in case something else does come along with it. Or maybe you just don't need to be that paranoid. I don't know. It's one of those ones where you need to acknowledge the risk, but you don't always need to be paranoid about it. I'm not going to change too much about ZSH for now. You can install tons of other modules, other than to say that it does then have this really convenient feature where if I go ls, I can just tab through all the options, whereas bash will just keep spitting out all the options to you. So I can go, do that one and tell me what's there, which has nothing in it. As is one of the cool things about ZSH. I've done that, and tab completion. Sorry, I have some notes to run along with. So before we go on, just going to install a few other things that make life a bit easier. So using our favorite apt, and we will, I guess, put this up on our. got to remember how to update the blog, but we have a blog. I will put up the notes on there as well, so you know what we're doing. But I'm going to install Unzipped. Unzipped.
Zipped.
Let's install.
Also, hey Mark, yeah, security people are always the funnest people.
We can be fun. Sometimes you don't want to be around when security people are having fun. Unzip's already installed. Also, you may see stuff that talks about apt-get. That's the same thing. There's also Aptitude, which I don't know if that's here. But Aptitude, I think I've used that before in Ubuntu. I'm assuming I'm going to try it. Aptitude. No.
It should tab autocomplete if it's there.
Yeah. Which is the same general thing. I think Aptitude has some other features. I remember someone trying to convince me I should use it, and I ignored them. P7 zip dash full. This is just 7-zip. That's already installed. Apt install Vim. So Vim's a text editor, like command line or terminal text editor, like Nano or VI. Vim's just some enhancements on VI. I can probably undersell it like that without having someone kill me, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Apt install GCC, because that comes up. That's what happens if you don't type sudo, is it'll give you a could not open lock file because you need to be root to use that file or touch that.
So what do we
file.
use GCC for?
GCC shows up in one of the next steps. In general, we also use GCC for if we were going to try and compile an exploit or a reverse shell or something like that. You'd use GCC to compile that. GCC is the C compiler, or the GNU C compiler. Old school Unix world, it was called CC for C compiler. In our case, not only will we use it for that, but the next step, which is doing some fancy stuff with Python, which is what we'll use for scripting, needs GCC to work.
Fancy Python, not the normal Python.
Oh no, it's normal Python. The other thing we need to install is Make. Make is like a build tool. So if you've done Java and you've dealt with like Ant, Python doesn't really have build tooling, so it doesn't really work there. But it lets you kind of manage dependencies when you're building stuff. But that's getting too nerdy. So okay, so one of the things with Debian is if I meant to go -- version, but this works too. We see Python 2.7.16 is what runs when we just try and run Python, and Control D to get out of that if you want to get out of the Python interpreter. And Python 3 -- version is, so I think most people will be aware of this, but just in case there's anyone that's not, two kind of mainline versions of Python. Python 2, which development has really stopped at 2.7, I think. Even 2.7.16, like Octant 2019. But there's legacy stuff in Debian.
It's been depreciated, hasn't it?
Yeah. I think they're starting to reduce the need for it. However, in security land, there's a bunch of tools that still use Python 2 that the authors
still use it.
Yeah, have stopped maintaining, so they're never going to update it, or they don't want to update it. All that sort of, or they think Python 2 is better than Python 3, although I haven't really run into anyone with that attitude in a long time. And Python 3 is 3.7. 3.73, which is, I think, the latest version 3.10. But at the moment, we'd just be restricted to one version or the other. Every time you installed a package to do something, like requests to make HTTP requests, you're changing the system packages. And if you keep being too package happy, you can break stuff. Or if your apps need two different versions of packages, or some code you got from somewhere else needs a specific version, it really gets hard to manage. And so the first step is installing a tool that just lets you install arbitrary Python versions. So we're going to be running another one of those. Actually, no, this one isn't running a one-liner. So I'm going to go to the website here. There is a one-liner for it, but I'm not going to run through the one-liner. Or maybe I should. Anyway, so it's called PyEnv. If we just go down to installation, and then we can... they've got some nice documentation about environment variables and what some of the mechanisms they use are. But I will start here. So what we're going to do is they're telling us to clone the repo using Git and dropping it in a newly created directory called pyenv in our home folder, or .pyenv, because in Linux a dot in front of a folder name will make the folder or file hidden. Okay, so we've done that. Now we can optionally, and this is the bit where we need make and GCC, is we are going to compile some stuff. I don't know what, but compile some
Whatever's
stuff
in
for
the
some
make
speed.
file.
Yeah, it'll work without it, but it's a dynamic bash extension thing that they're adding, which actually, considering this is ZSH, it might not do anything. But anyway, let's just run that. It runs pretty quick. It doesn't take long. They've got a file in there that does something and installs somewhere. Again, probably the sort of thing, if this was in any way sensitive, you'd want to check what it was before you compiled it. But who cares? This is for CTFs. And I will just say, the way the command works, the CD, we're CDing into our pyenv directory. The two ampersands is within the same line, do this and then do this. So,
It's yeah, I mean, we covered this in a previous video, but
yeah,
the ampersands is continue only if the last command was successful.
that's right. Yeah, double ampersands, and then
Yeah.
source configures a script, which is fairly common for when you're compiling C stuff. You have to run the config script, and then and then it makes the thing, whatever it is. It's
Whatever
some
it does
random bash extension that probably doesn't work with ZSH. So it's probably completely redundant. Anyway, so then what we do is pyenv needs a pyenv root environment variable. Again, we're just going to run it. This gets created by ZSH. So, but this is the .zsh runtime config file, I think. RC, that's what it stands for.
It's like the bash RC or
yeah. So if we just blindly copy both of those, that should...
I mean, these are one-liners that are fairly easy to understand what they're doing. They're basically just... So echo is basically print what's coming next in the quotes, and the double arrows is saying appended at the bottom of this file.
Yeah. There's a cool book called the Unix Headers Handbook, if you ever want to know about the ins and outs of Unix. And then a lot of that's carried over to Python, but this is all just input-output redirection. And we're just updating our path variable to include that as well, so that what we're about to do works. I will show you what it looks like. The other thing we need to do is this other thing for auto-completion, which also should be pretty straightforward. It's just a one-liner we can paste, and it should be fine. And then we need to go source ZSHRC. So source is just a way of running scripts. I think it runs scripts and does some other stuff. It's a bit different from just going ZSH run the script, because the ZSHRC file is just a shell script. But that should mean if I go printenv, I've got pyenv root and pyenv shell. And path, sorry, that was weird. I did that, when that whole, I've got the thinking croaky voice on. Jeez. Yeah, and my path should include that too. Cool. Okay, so now I should be able to go pyenv install 3.9.1, and this might be another risk of dead air. Quick, Jacob, think of something to say. Actually, all this is doing behind the scenes now is it goes and grabs the tarball of the source code for that version of Python, and it compiles it. That's the other reason why we need to have make CC and make installed, or GCC and make, because it goes and installs them from source. But you can have as many versions as you want. However, you can only have one of any given version, so you still start running into problems with installing packages, because if you go, this project uses this version of Python, where you've got to share all the packages that you got with that. Some of you might be familiar with virtual M's. Just checking the time. Virtual M's are just a way of dealing with that. So there is an add-on to PyEnv which lets you deal with those. So
we might have a play with that in another one.
Yeah, I'll quickly install it, but we're not gonna spend too much time on it. Yeah. Oh man, you can.
Yeah, we probably should have tested how long some of this stuff was going to take to do.
I knew this one would take a bit. Actually, Shift T. Yeah, new tab. Multitasking.
Whoa.
So we are going to grab PyEnv. I copied the link. I've already got the link. All you need to do is basically just do this. And then there's another thing that gets written to ZSHRC, so that it can do some fancy business. But ZSHRC instead of bash RC and source. There's an example of me going back up. We should just be able to go source. Cool. And that should all be done, and then I guess we can quickly check it's working. PyEnv, virtual env, autocomplete works, and then let's go 3.9.1. If this is finished, it's not done yet. Jake, it's not done yet.
Still going. How dare it's still going.
Yeah. Slow is fun. Yeah, you know what's funny, Mork, is
probably not even the nub.
I did actually run through a lot of this during my lunchtime today, just to like check. But I was like, no, we want to kind of go from scratch. But like, it's far out. That's taken a while. This is what happens. It
wouldn't be us if we had a perfectly prepared, scripted.
No plan survives first contact with the enemy.
Exactly.
Okay, while we're doing that, I will just go and quickly grab PyCharm. PyCharm's another fun one because PyCharm. PyCharm's another fun one because you've got to like step through a million things to get to like the direct download link, so you can use wget. I don't know. Use this direct link. No, I don't want to cancel. Copy link location. Okay, so was that an error? Build failed.
Oh, no.
But you worked before. Aww. Okay, we might just have to power on, but I'm not going to debug why that didn't work. But that should have worked.
We missed you too.
Man. Sorry. I will leave that and try. No, wait, trying the same thing again. Why? Half a sec.
Isn't that
that bugs me. That bugs me that didn't work. Yeah, I installed it. And if I go to like, you know what? Maybe because it's like close terminal. Maybe it's because there's like issues with, no, not that. Environment variables and crap. 3.9.1. Okay, we'll do that, and then we'll wget this, and then we might loop back to this if it works. If not, we'll have instructions. I had it working before and it was fine, but maybe I missed something in that weird nervous energy when you're like, oh, we're streaming. Okay, sweet. Check out my download speed. Gigabit internet.
Whoa, man. Such internet.
So anyway, downloaded PyCharm. Can worry about that later. But I guess let's get into some other fun stuff. I'm briefly just going to install a note-taking app called Trillium because it's always been the bane of our stuff as we use text files, and text files kind of suck. Yeah, that's it. Pretty subtle. You know what's funny is someone overseas will be like, what? Gigabit internet losers? It's in Australia land, far out. Oh, the internet here sucks. unless you get good internet like I do. Okay, so DPKG, I think stands for Debian package, is just a utility for dealing with .deb files, which behind the scene is what apt is downloading, and then it runs this. Apt is like just a dependency manager, really, I guess. But it's just going to be this. My password is that. It's highly secure. Nobody hack me.
Too late.
Come on. Okay, done. So now we are going to, if I can remember what the next steps are. Oh yeah, we'll just run it. Trillium. Nope. Did I spell it wrong? Yes. It doesn't have two L's. Trillium, is that like a character from... No, that's Trillion from Hitchhiker's Guide. Yeah, new user. This is just like a local note-taking app. The main thing is it has like encryption. So if you were really paranoid about someone stealing your CTF notes, I can't verify the goodness of the encryption for syncing somewhere that maybe if you were using this for pen testing that shouldn't go. That's just a demo folder structure. We can create a child one here and then just go insert child mode again and it becomes a folder. So we can go CTFs and then we can mirror like a folder structure. That the other thing to do, actually, you can probably just do this over here, is make the CTFs. I think in another one, like I used to have them mounted on a separate drive. If you're running out of space, you can just create a new volume in VMware and attach it and move everything there. But that's really it. Like all we normally do for when we were doing CTFs was have, a folder for each CTF. And then maybe we'd move them somewhere for streaming once we were done so that we wouldn't accidentally leak stuff about other challenges that we were working on. Yeah, I think, did that happen once and we had to like try and censor it in hindsight?
Yeah, I think like we suspended the VM instead of shutting it down and it had like the terminals and everything open for like a half completed.
We are geniuses. Okay.
We are so good at this.
Okay. So now we're just going to get on to starting to install a bunch of stuff. So for network stuff, let's apt install Nmap. So that's where my password's at. Far out, it's not a difficult password. Okay, so we've kind of broken down the stuff we want to install by, I guess, general category. So if I copy this and just go and dump this in here. See, that copy and paste from Windows into this. So the formatting's not great, but so enumeration, which is currently you could say is discovery. So that's hunting for things that you could target. SOCAT and NetCat aren't really an enumeration, but Nmap was there and I couldn't think of where else to put it. But maybe command and control or something like that, or exfil. All of these are handy tools for that. What's NIC2?
It's a web app scanner.
Cool.
Yeah.
Then we've got vulnerability analysis, and some of these cross over, but we've got TCP dumps. So if you're using, I just think of Wireshark, but there's PCAP.
Yep.
PCAP, right? Yeah. You can capture the traffic straight from your network card. We had a CTF where you had to capture incoming FTP traffic to get a username and password that the FTP client was using to log into an FTP server. SQL map is just for, it's more than just vulnerability analysis. I think it's also exploitation, but SQL map, good for abusing various vulnerabilities in various databases. WFuzz and GoBuster, maybe enumeration as well. Definitely GoBuster. WFuzz is certainly vulnerability analysis, trying to break stuff. Hydra and Medusa, that's like trying to brute force.
They're like brute forcing tools. Yeah.
Again, our categories aren't great. They're just what we stuck it in. Burp. Hopefully you've used Burp. Web app scanner /fuzzer/ request interceptor / do fun stuff.
With a
WP
bunch of other things.
WP and Zoom scan. They're scanners.
There was another. Oh, Dupe Scan. That was the other one that I couldn't remember.
Droop
They're
scan?
basically, Droop Scan.
So these are specific app scanners for
It was
WordPress, Joomla.
UPE, I think. Yeah, something like that.
yeah.
Anyway,
And
WordPress, Joomla, and Drupal. They all kind of scan each other at the same time, but they focus on what they're named after.
So was that more quick? Getting root on Windows, and it doesn't allow partial get of the file. You might have to elaborate.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about the fact that I copy pasted from Windows? That's why you install the VMware tools, so that you don't have to keep doing what Jacob did in the early days.
Yeah.
Which was typing stuff out. Hashcat, just password brute forcer. I guess you could say weak passwords are a vulnerability that you'd want to analyze.
It's cracking. I mean, you can use it to generate your own word lists and stuff too. It can do a bunch of things, but typically it's just a
reverse engineering. And maybe we do some reverse engineering this year. This is cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's incredibly nerdy and incredibly technical, so not everyone's cup of tea. But reverse engineering's fun. Various bits and pieces you'd use for that. And some word lists. Some stuff for writing code, which we've already installed C++ and Python and all that jazz. We're not using Joplin because it turns out that's a pile of crap for note taking. And other random utilities, which I've installed a bunch of already. So that's kind of it. So the next little bit is just going to be me installing stuff. So let's strap in for a wild ride, all two people watching. Okay.
This is where you do one of those like montages in YouTube or the time lapse, hyperlapse. Like...
SoCat. So there's this thing where we could install Netcat or SoCat. I'm going to install both. I can't remember what's good about SoCat, but I just know that it's probably good to install because it will be useful. Let's Google this. At one point I knew, but like it's between Netcat and SoCat, and look how bad my typing is.
There was one CTF where we had to use SoCat and not Netcat, and I can't remember why.
SoCat can do serial line stuff Netcat cannot. SoCat can do fairly advanced functionality that have multiple clients listen on a port or reuse connections. Okay, yeah. SoCat's like a more advanced Netcat. You probably don't need to install both of them, but I did.
I don't think you need both of them, but there was a reason why we used SoCat over Netcat on one of the CTFs, and I can't remember what.
Let's see if there's a mass scan.
This is what happens when you take 9 months off.
Oh, there is mass scan. So there isn't necessarily... You'll be surprised how many security tools show up in the, like, apt, but not everything. SMB map does. Nikto. Let's try Nikto. If not, this is where it could get interesting because sometimes installing extra stuff is Debian. If you're not sure how to install something, I never feel failed by just Googling for like operating system install whatever. Sometimes with Debian you get Ubuntu instructions which work about 80% of the time. What is it actually called? So this can be some of the problem sometimes, is trying to figure out what the package is actually referred to, but it does look like it's just Nikto. Why didn't that work? Unless it's in some other... It might not be available in... I'm not in Jesse, I'm in Sid, I think. So it might not be available in this particular version of Debian. So that's always the challenge. Let me see if I can figure out what version of Debian I've got.
You can probably download the .deb and just install that.
Let's just double check what 10.8 is called. February 2021. It doesn't have a name. They normally give them cool names, and I'm just not. Oh, Buster. Sorry, not Sid. Buster. And Jesse's like 2 versions ago. So you can just kind of, and you know what, for education and profit, let's just grab the Debian file, the .deb. This can always be a risky proposition. Oh, Debian 10 Buster. But this is... it's non-free. Right. That's what it is. It's the non-free repo. Actually, we can go through this. Debian add non-free. Yeah, server fault, which is the Stack Overflow for sysadmins. Simply add non-free. Of course. How did I not know that? I'm an idiot. I say I'm an idiot, but Mork will know that I'm more than just an idiot. Words that I dare not repeat. Okay. So we want to go vim etc apt sources.list. etc stands for editable text configuration, not etc. Although it feels a bit like the folder that people just dump whatever crap in and they go, no, etc. Okay, so what we need to do is I think we just need to go Buster main and then it's non-free. So should just be there. We shouldn't need to do it for the updates. Okay. WQ. What? Oh gosh. Wait, I screwed up. It was at that moment you realized you made a mistake.
You didn't sudo it?
Nope. And Q exclamation mark gets you out if it decides to try and be too helpful. Yeah, so to edit anything in etc, generally you need to be root because it's all owned by root or other app accounts. Non-free. Okay, so then it should just be sudo apt update. Gosh, if I can type. Yes, we all were happy together, weren't we? Sorry, just on that Mork's comment. It'll be great. The people on YouTube will be watching this going, I don't have any context.
I have no context to what you're saying.
Sudo apt install Nikto. So the non-free packages are the ones that don't have appropriate licensing. So normally they're not GPL or BSD or one of those similar sort of licenses. And it sounds like Nikto is probably something Jake's used. I've never used it. It sounds like it has one of those sorts of licenses. So
yeah, really.
Debian handily puts that in the non-free packages. If you're trying to, you need to add that if you've got a graphics card you need to get working or an Intel Wi-Fi card, stuff like that. Okay, so the next step is linenum on my list, which linenum is actually just a whole bunch of scripts. Well, a script.
A shell script, yeah.
For enumerating like stuff on a Linux OS. So I'm gonna go out and then I'm gonna make the tools with a Z.
I normally put everything in opt.
Yeah,
because that's optional software.
I can't be bothered following POSIX standards. I just stick it wherever the hell I want. But stick it wherever you want. I just realised that's a great comment to say. Put it in whichever folder pleases you. Opt, temp if you're feeling brave. I'm just making a tools directory in my user folder. And then git clone this. Actually. And then into linenum. Linenum is what it looks like. Okay. And if we go in there, let's just give it a cheeky run, Jake.
Do it.
Actually, what you need to do, 777 lin enum. So then you can just run it without having to. You still need to. And hopefully you didn't hear the sound of my intestines gurgling. So it's just runs through. Technically, you'd pipe it somewhere. If you'd compromised the server, I say compromise. If you'd managed to get access to a server as a non-privileged user, you might copy this file over and run it just to see what you can see. Bear in mind that probably every single server-side malware scanner has this file listed as like potentially unwanted software or malware or something.
So, yeah.
So CTFs, actually, I've never even seen a CTF was really that useful. It does speed up some things, like it'll go and look at all the files that you just go and look at yourself. Anyway, that's that. The other thing I did, the chmod 777, that's Linux permissions. So 7 indicates you can do anything you want, and then the position in the group is who it relates to. So the first one is the owner can read, write, execute. Then the next one is anyone in the group listed against the file can read, write, and execute. Then the last one is anyone in the world, so i.e. anyone on the server. So probably do that. And it would be safer, because that means other users can't navigate to this folder and run this script. Although, actually, all you need to do is sh lin enum. It works better for binaries, I think, than it does scripts, because you can always just directly pump it into sh. Clear. And then Control-C will kill a process that's running, and sometimes Control-D as well. There's a whole bunch of detail about what those do that I guess I don't want to get into. And let's see if SNMP checks here. Sudo apt install snmp -check. SNMP is a you explain it, Jake, while I look up how to install it.
Sorry, I'm also installing them on my VM at the same time.
SNMP check.
So SNMP is what is it, like simple network something?
Monitoring protocol. SNMP itself is a nope.
Yeah, it's basically like a monitoring and sort of managing protocol thing that exposes different data depending on what's running on the server.
I have a feeling it comes in a broader set of tools.
It is quite possible that it does. I just remember using it on CTFs.
Because it comes with Kali. So this is part of the fun if you decide to do this, like setting up something rather than just using Kali, is you learn a bit more about the tools. And
we kind of created a list of tools that we remember using on CTFs and not actually checking where they come from, because most of them are standard to Kali.
Okay, so we should just be able to go sudo apt install snmp. I don't want to install snmpd. Lib snmp/dev. Let's see if it works without snmpd, because snmpd will be the daemon process, and we don't really need that running. I just need these tools installed. I say need. I would like. It's probably not super important, but SNMP comes up in CTF from time to time because it is a horrific protocol.
Exactly.
SNMP check. Did it come with them? And fuck it. Type. Okay, it installed.
Yay.
But, you may need to install the TK module. Can't locate tk.pm. Okay, so this is part of the challenge you get to when you start installing these tools. Is you have to start
figuring out their dependencies as well.
Locate tk.pm. You may need to install hopefully it just tells us what we need to install. And perl-tk. Oh, it's Perl. Okay. Sudo apt install perl-tk. In a sensible world, that would have been listed as a dependency, and it would have been installed. This is some of the annoying things about this stuff. Is it may be for packages dependencies, but nope, still doesn't work. Oh, read key. Just perl-read key.
It can be too much effort for tonight's stream if we want.
Yeah,
well. It's not a tool that's used very frequently.
I think we've kind of indicated the general process and the whys. It can be fun just to set up your own environment, and then you basically just Google the errors. We will format this up as a blog post. We thought this would just be a good, gets us back to streaming. We don't actually have to have done any CTFs because we need to actually... I need to
actually do a CTF,
find my username and password for Hack the Box. Yes, dependency chains. And what's funny is this SNMP check got installed with apt, but it didn't have any of this other crap listed as a dependency.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Because you need to install the read key module, and he hasn't. Oh gosh, yeah. This is the fun. It gets even harder when you're trying to install. What's the name of that? John the Ripper. Far out. That sucks. Although
John the Ripper is a pain in the butt to get working.
I'm thinking Ghidra was pretty straightforward.
Ghidra was good actually.
Yeah. Ghidra's on our list. Burp's pretty straightforward. Hydra and Medusa, I think, were fine.
Yeah, they should be fine.
MinGW, getting all the stuff you need for getting like all the various targets working, I think requires a little bit, but the instructions for that are pretty straightforward. Nothing else here is particularly difficult, except maybe MSF Venom, because I'm not sure if you have to install all the Metasploit. And I don't want to
we're kind of hoping it doesn't have to be bundled with Metasploit, but if it does, then we'll just kind of have it there and probably not use it.
Install Metasploit and Postgres, because you need Postgres for Metasploit.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will save this VOD. Are they still called VODs? What are they called now? I don't know. The thing Twitch records, and then whack it on our YouTube. And we'll remember how to put stuff on the blog. And update that with just all the stuff we're going to have installed. So when we start CTFing, this is what we'll use. I just thought,
we'll use this build with all of the tools that we list and go from there. And we'll just kind of install stuff as we need it, as we go along, and realize that we forgot something or
that we needed something new.
Something.
And again, it kind of comes back to the idea that Kali's good, and especially like for pen tests and stuff, where you just give me an operating system with the things I need. But I don't know.
It is almost, I guess, like a bloatware for CTFs. Like it comes with so much extra garbage that you'll never use.
We say garbage, perfectly worthwhile tools that someone put a lot of effort into, but...
Oh, definitely. Like I'm sure there are people that use or have used every single tool that's on there, but for CTFs, most of the time you're not going to.
Yeah, and, we'll... okay, cool. Libterm. Oh, what? There's a ton of libterm. This is why you install, like, ZSH, so you can just sit there and twiddle through them like this. Libterm, read key perl. Yeah, and, like, I don't know, I just like creating an just doing this from scratch. You kind of feel like you built something, you feed and water it. Inevitably, you screw it with upgrades or something, and you weep because you have to start from scratch. But I don't know, it's fun. You get to create kind of an environment for you that you kind of like. I like having my Python all nice and organized, and it screwed up again. So I'm going to have to figure out why in this particular run, the one I did at lunch worked fine, but in this particular run, PyEnv is not cooperating with me. Maybe I just need to do a reboot. But like, I like being able to organize all my Pythons properly, and it sounds like I'm a snake keeper. and all of that jazz, so that they're all nice. If you have to get some old Python script that was built for 2.6 or whatever, you can without causing issues for anything else. Anyway, on that note, that probably leaves us to it because it's 9:02, so we've been going for an hour, which is generally what we like to target.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, mail at...
You
Oh,
should have.
gosh. How do we spell our domain?
Chat.
I couldn't get the domain that was those are the guys that was just spelled GUYS. So it's like guys as in disguise, like GUISE.
It's those. Hang on, let me type it in chat. Those are the GUI.se.
Yeah, spelt like that. Mail at that if you've got any questions. Wow, asking people to send us an email. Next thing you know, we'll start a BBS.
And on the video, because this is going to be on YouTube. That's what all the cool kids do.
Yeah. Professor Hess says, this makes me feel so much better at my attempts. Yeah, you constantly run into issues when you try and do stuff. It's just, especially with arcane security tools that are they do funny stuff, or they work in a particularly weird way, or they're just 10 years old and you have to hack them into working. So it in of itself is its own fun, which is probably why if you're a new starter and you don't want to go through the pain of learning how to use Linux, before you can actually start learning how to do a CTF or pen test, or you're doing what's the course everyone does? I've forgotten what it's called. The one that you did.
OSCP.
Yeah, the OSCP.
Yeah. Mark, if you're putting your hand up to make us some cool intros and outros, then we will take them and claim them and maybe give you credit.
Yeah. Or I'll come up with some. I got a drone, so I did some cool flying today. So could use drone footage for I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway,
drone footage.
This has been a really long outro, long and winding. We will see you. Oh, the guys is a supervillain name. Yes, wer the guys? You will do what we say. I don't know why villains have to be German, but this is great. Or Russian. Anyway, that's
one or the other.
That's it from us. Hopefully, this is a week. Do you reckon weekly? Do you reckon we can do one next week, Jake? I mean, I'm for go big, go big, and go home, but
yeah, I mean, yeah.
It'll be something next week.
We'll find something to do next week. It might not be a CTF. We'll see. Hopefully it's a CTF.
But it will be something
maybe we could do one of those, talking about reverse engineering, maybe it could be one of those hack the box reverse engineering challenges.
Or we can find other reverse engineering challenges.
Or, I mean, it could be a different challenge, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure they started retiring challenges, which means you're allowed to stream their write-ups and stuff.
I haven't logged into Hack the Box in ages.
Neither have I. Did you see that they added a battlegrounds thing? So you have a red versus blue team almost competition.
Cool.
Yeah, so one team is live trying to hack in and the other team is live trying to defend against it, and it's basically whoever wins. Well, if the red team get in, then blue loses, sort of thing. But that sounded really cool, but I haven't logged in to see how it actually works.
Mork just texted me to tell me that there is an interesting GitHub list of CTF tools, etc. And of course, it didn't occur to me to just Google for that.
I know, we could have done that.
Actually, no, it's kind of good that we've done it from memory. And then we can...
not a those guys thing if we just copy someone else's stuff.
But I probably will run through that and pick and choose interesting looking things. And yeah, there are other CTF challenges and reversing and stuff like that. We'll have something next week. On that note, have fun, stay safe. This is where cooler people have a tagline, but I don't. So